lecture number 6. In this lecture, in the artifacts in the British Museum, we want to particularly look at the early kingdom period of the nation of Israel. And I've designated this as basically Solomon through the king called Ahab in the northern kingdom. We will be beginning on slide number 70, which is the title slide. In slide 71, you see a representation of a large bas-relief which is in one of the galleries in the British Museum, and it shows Assyrians bringing trophies to the king of Assyria. And in this particular case, you will see a couple of monkeys, one held by hand on the ground and one held on the shoulder by the Assyrian that's bringing it in. What is fascinating about this is that this is very similar to what happened in other places in the world, not the least of which is in Jerusalem, where Solomon was the king. On slide 72, for instance, you will see that there are a couple of passages given in 1 Kings, one in chapter 4 and one in chapter 10, where Solomon was very fascinated with the fields which in modern life we call botany and zoology. And one of the things that he apparently did was he imported into Jerusalem some exotic animals. Particularly mentioned in the Bible are apes and baboons. And these are very similar to the ones that you see in this bas-relief in the Assyrian gallery. Slide 73 depicts a Phoenician ship. You will notice the slaves in the ship, or the sailors, are rowing out of the lower tier, but then there is an upper tier as well. There are two tiers in this particular ship. This one is maybe a bit later than the time of Solomon, but what is of significance here is that Solomon built a merchant navy for the kingdom of Israel, and he used Phoenician technology, Phoenician ability to construct seaworthy boats for his merchant navy. Slide 74 tells you a bit about this particular bas-relief, and it also mentions the passage in 1 Kings chapter 9 where Solomon builds this merchant navy through which he brings in all kinds of precious vessels, riches, various kinds of artifacts, gold, spices, and so on into Jerusalem. When we speak about Solomon, we want to say something about the time of Solomon and the question of dating. And on slide 75, you will see the question, when did Solomon rule? One of our important resources for dating things in the Bible comes from Assyrian records. We have archives that have been discovered by archaeologists of 261 continuous years with the names, dates, and important events of Assyrian life and neighboring countries. What is especially important within this is that some of these dates are going to interact with the Bible itself. One of the things that's very helpful for us is that the Assyrians recorded solar and lunar eclipses. And these eclipses can be accurately traced by astronomers, so we can nail down much of this Assyrian calendar in a very precise way. In slide 76, then, you will see that there is a reference to two kings, which are part of the Israelite kingships that are mentioned specifically in Assyrian records. There is the king Jehu of Israel. This is the northern kingdom, and he is mentioned by name on the obelisk of Shalmaneser III. And then there is Ahab of Israel, who is mentioned in the annals of Shalmaneser III. Both of these mentions can be tied down to very specific times. The 841 to 840 BC date for Jehu and the 853 to 852 date for Ahab. Given these two sort of keystones, if you look at slide 77, then you can calculate the dates of many of the kings of Israel by simply using those fixed anchor points and then taking the figures that come from the Bible for the length of the reigns of the various kings. And working your way backward, you can work from Jehu through Ahab all the way back to Solomon. And this is why the dates 970 to 930 are generally considered to be pretty reliable dates for the reign of Solomon. And Solomon's reign ends with his death in 930 BC. So there is, in fact, a way to correlate biblical material with external material to Israel in fixing ancient dates. If you look at slide 78, you will see an image of the black obelisk of Shalmaneser III. This is quite a large stone, which is over the height of a person's head standing, and it shows a number of panels of people that Shalmaneser conquered and who brought tribute to Shalmaneser. In slide 79 and slide 80, there are details that describe this particular obelisk, but of special importance to us is the fact that Jehu, the king of Israel, is mentioned by name. And in fact, if you go to slide 81, you will see one of the panels from this obelisk that shows Jehu kneeling. He is kneeling before Shalmaneser, and various kinds of implements are brought as trophies and tribute to Shalmaneser. And you will see that in the air above Jehu, who's kneeling up at the top, you will see images of Assyrian gods. You'll see the sun disk image, and you'll see the Ishtar image, which are Assyrian gods. And then in the cuneiform band that is associated with this panel, you will find the actual reference to Jehu himself. Details of this panel are given in slide 82. And then in slide 83, 84, and 85, there is a string of Israelites who are bringing tribute to Shalmaneser. In slide 83, you begin with 2 Assyrians, and you'll notice the rather lengthy square beard, which is typical of Assyrians. The second figure is beardless, which probably means that this person is a eunuch. And then following him, there will be 3 other figures. And then on the 2 panels to follow, there will be several other figures totaling 13 in all. And these will be Israelites, or people from the northern kingdom of Israel, who are accompanying Jehu in bringing tribute to Shalmaneser III. These are some of the earliest, if not the earliest, depictions of Israelites that we have in history. And you'll notice by the carving of their robes and the fringe on the robes that they have distinctive clothing that is somewhat different than the kind of clothing you will find for the Assyrians. Moving ahead to slide 87, you'll have the picture of the Kirkastele, which mentions Ahab of Israel in the battle at Karkar. Now, the Battle of Karkar is a battle that is not actually mentioned in the Bible, but it is a battle that apparently occurred in which Ahab joined a coalition of kings in the northern part of Palestine, and together they opposed the Assyrian invasion. Ahab, in fact, was able to bring to this conflict an infantry of about 10,000 soldiers. And this particular stela also mentions that he brought a chariot corps of about 2,000 chariots, which is a significant chariot corps. And so this engagement, while it's not described in the Bible, is a description of the first physical contact between the northern nation of Israel and the Assyrians. And this, of course, becomes very important for the dating of Ahab and consequently for the dating of all of the other kings of Israel and of Judah itself. In slide 89, you will see a small depiction of a woman at a window, a woman who has kind of an Egyptian-style headdress. And this particular artifact you're going to see in a number of excavations in the ancient world. There are at least 2 or 3 depictions of a woman at the window right here in the British Museum. This is the one that is maybe the most well known, but there's at least 2 of them in the ancient Near Eastern displays. The picture of the woman at the window, we're not sure who she is or what she represents. Some suggest that she might represent a goddess, such as Asherah. Others that she might represent a queen or a person like that. But it does remind us of some people in the Bible, women who were associated with windows, particularly Rahab in the book of Joshua. She let down the spies through the window and hung the scarlet cord from her window. And then there is the description in Judges after the battle of Deborah against Sisera of the mother of Sisera who looks longingly out the window waiting for her son to come home. And of course he's not going to come home because he's dead. And then finally you have the story of the death of Jezebel in 2 Kings chapter 9, where Jezebel looks out the window and sees Jehu riding his chariot furiously into the capital. Jezebel, of course, was subsequently thrown down. Jehu rode over her in his chariot or in his chariot and killed her, and of course her life ends there. But she is looking out the window in this particular passage, and so while this particular artifact doesn't actually describe a biblical person, it does remind us very much of some of the stories that are in the Bible.